And we're live. Hello, everyone. Hi, everybody on the stream. Hi, Oksana, Naman, Janvi, Arif, and yeah, I'm not going to read all the names. There's going to be too many names. But hello, everybody. Welcome to today's stream. We'll start with a little bit of introductions because yeah, usually there's Joyce and Alami, but there's also a different timing that we're doing the stream. So I'm Meenakshi. I go by Meena, that's short for Meenakshi. And I'm in India right now, and I'm a developer advocate for Postman. And I'm going to be hosting this stream along with Anudeep and Udit. Anudeep, you want to go first and Udit next? Do you want to introduce yourself to the lovely audience that we have today?
Sure. Hey everyone, this is Anudeep. I'm right now in Bangalore, but I'm a design manager in Postman, and yeah, we have worked on this WebSocket feature. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Hey everyone, I am Udit. I am a technical lead at Postman. I work very closely in the runtime part of our API platform, which involves things like collection execution, request sending, and apart from all this, I also maintain a lot of our open source libraries, including everyone's favorite Newman. So yeah.
Yeah, if you use like the Postman app support and the GitHub repository a lot, you're going to see Udit very active over there. And do you go by code Nirvana on GitHub?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, nice. Cool. So there's people from a lot of places. There's somebody from Spain as well. I'm learning Spanish, so that's exciting. Okay. Hi, Sean. Sean is a developer advocate at Postman. He's on chat. Hi, Sean from New York. So let's go ahead and we do this small section called In Case You Missed It. So I'll share my screen for this one. And this is what we've been up to. So Postman now supports WSDL, WSDL or WSDL, whatever way you like to call it. But so there was an update that happened earlier where we could test. Oh no, what's this stage fright? I've forgotten what I was going to say. But basically with the support right now, with WSDL support, you would be able to, the way that you can create API, import your APIs for OpenAPI, RAML and other specifications, you can do the same with your WSDL files. You can import them directly into Postman, and you can use all of the collaboration features that are there, and you can generate documentation and yes, validate your collections and test against the WSDL schema. So you get all of that now as well. So go ahead, try it out, and we'd love for you to give us feedback on the community forum on GitHub. And I'm going to just paste this link on the chat so that we have it. Udit, do you want to add anything about the WSDL feature?
Yeah, it makes lives of the SOAP developers very easy. It's interesting to know actually a lot of critical APIs or legacy systems are still running on SOAP, although we are talking about WebSockets today, but yeah, it's a great addition.
Awesome. Yes, SOAP it is. So moving on to the meat of this stream, which is WebSockets. So before we go ahead with how we built WebSockets, probably for all the people on the stream who haven't used WebSockets or think REST is like really, really popular, but maybe WebSockets form of communication is new. Or for those who haven't used WebSockets, I'm going to put Udit to like explain everything today. Udit, you want to talk about WebSockets, and then you can I can go ahead and share your screen whenever we want to show Postman currently and how you can use WebSockets right now in the app.
Yeah, sure. I'll start by just talking about what WebSockets is very briefly. So, uh, in like technical terms, WebSocket provides you a full duplex communication channel, which allows you uh, bidirectional communication. So we all are familiar with HTTP, which is like unary communication. So once you get a response, your connection usually gets closed. But with WebSockets, both client and server can send and receive messages without disconnecting the socket. So yeah, a lot of applications which are not very effectively done using HTTP, like chat platforms or let's say live stream and all those real-time things, right? WebSocket is the go-to protocol, and it is it's supported in pretty much every single browser now. So yeah.
Awesome. So the chat that we're using hopefully uses WebSockets and hopefully uses Postman then to build it and test it. That's what we're hoping. And Udit, do you want me to share your screen? Do you want to go over how WebSockets support looks for Postman at the moment?
Yeah, sure. I have shared my screen. So I
Yes.
hope it's visible. Let me know if I have to zoom in a bit, but I hope it's fine. So we have recently added support for WebSocket in both Postman native app and the web app. So to access or create a new WebSocket request, you just go to new or press Command N, and you can see the beta WebSocket request feature. Uh, so I have a local server right now to just demonstrate a few of the features which we have added. So you can put your WebSocket server URL, and you can notice it's not HTTP or HTTPS. It has a different URL scheme called like WS or WSS,
Yeah.
right?
Udit,
So
do you want to zoom in one more and see if
yeah,
yeah.
so let me close this then. Cool. So once you establish the connection, right, you will see you have two areas. So one is where you post messages, and the other is where you get all your messages, like both the ones you send and also what you have received, right? Uh, so I talked about WebSocket, but we didn't went into detail. But everything starts with HTTP request in WebSocket, and with Postman, with all the experience with HTTP, we want to just put out all the information or every tiny detail about WebSocket connection. So in the very first message, the connected message, right, you can see all the handshake details. So you can see a HTTP request sent, and it switched protocols. So from HTTP, it upgrades to WebSocket, right? So yeah, so this is a very simple echo server. It will just echo whatever I send, and you can author your messages like in HTTP with JSON, XML, and even binary, right? Now, the thing with WebSocket is it don't have headers, response headers or request headers like HTTP. And response headers usually allow you to do is say the type of your response, like this is a JSON response, this is an XML response, right? So let's say I send a string, but it's like JSON. So in a response, right, what we try to do is actually detect what type of the response it is. And you can see that we have detected it's an application JSON, and you can get benefit of all the syntax highlighting out of the box, right? And
Yeah,
you can,
just Jon Snow says Udit is lit. Just wanted to let you know. Continue.
okay. Yeah. So yeah, WebSocket like also like allows you to send binary response. So you can see we also try to decode the binary messages as well, but we don't stop there. And there are a few binary streams which we can actually decode, like let's just start with video. So whenever there is a binary response with a video format, right, we actually try to decode and have a player, and you can see the Postman intro video right here. So yeah, so apart from video, we also have support. We detect audio
That's
and
Joyce. There's Joyce in the video there.
yep, yeah,
So
and
Joyce is my boss. Joyce is lovely. I love you, Joyce.
so we can also detect images. So you don't have to see the binary response, but we actually decode. So this is something which WebSocket don't provide out of the box, but we have had support for it to just help you debug all the different types of data. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Apart from it, we have a blog post and also a learning center doc where you can learn more about all the features. Like you can filter all the message which you have sent, or just search about something like I have hello, and it just lists down all the message which have hello in it, right? So yeah, that's about WebSockets.
Looks really cool. I've played around with like the text and the JSON and like XML messages, but this image and video, yeah, that looks really cool and really helpful as well. Yeah, okay. Danny says Anudeep is also lit. So cool. Thank you, Danny. Yeah, they're both blushing right now with compliments. So thank you for keeping the stream alive. Okay, I am going to yeah, okay. So the we have what we're going to do now in the stream is we have a couple of questions, couple of topics probably to address and to ask and understand how we actually built support for WebSockets in Postman. So that's what we're going to talk about. But we'd love to answer questions for everybody on the stream as well. So feel free to add your questions or anything about WebSockets, about how we built it on the chat. And Udit, Anudeep, and hopefully I will chime in and we'll be able to address them all. So I am going to stop sharing and I'm going to put the chat back at the side because we're going to do a lot of chit chat to understand how we actually built this beautiful feature. So to begin with, it would be interesting to understand like everything from the ideation phase and maybe when did we plan for or like yeah like when did we ideate the fact that like Postman, because everybody uses it for rest, so the thought of supporting it for WebSockets, and it's not exactly sync communication like it is for the REST APIs. So can you tell us more about the ideation phase and like the initial blockers or probably the challenges that you had? And yeah, feel free to pop in. Anudeep, Udit, any of you.
So, so just to begin with, right? So WebSocket is still is like one of the most commented and most upvoted feature requests on our GitHub issue tracker, and we have always wanted to go like in the multi-protocol world, but we are parallelly also building an API platform and like finishing up things with HTTP and like give entire experience. But what was slowing us down with WebSocket supports, I think it took us like the feature request is there for like more than 4 years now, but it took a while because it's difficult to ship support for WebSocket with all the features like monitoring, documentation, and all of the API lifecycle things which we have for HTTP, and it just slows us down whenever we think about the amount of work we have to do just to support all of it, right? But very recently, like I think right after our Postman Galaxy, we have like took a decision of just go the same path how we became like Postman as it is right now for HTTP. We just started with the ability to connect to WebSocket API, and we are incrementally adding support for a lot of other things. So next up, I see a lot of feature request for supporting saving the WebSocket request in a collection. Though that's something which we are actively working on. There will be a very interesting announcement tomorrow as well for WebSockets. So yeah,
Do you
so we
want
are.
do you
Yeah.
want to announce part of it today?
So I was talking about how it is difficult to manage a WebSocket stream because all your messages are coming in, just flowing in one stream, right? And there is no contract between the client and the server. So what WebSocket gives you is just a raw TCP on an application layer. So to have that contract established, right? So there are things like sub protocol and libraries which users use to better channel their messages. So there is this very popular library which every WebSocket user knows about called Socket.io, and that's something which we have added support for, and it's coming out very soon.
So is that the exciting announcement that's going to come out tomorrow?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's exciting. I've seen quite a lot of threads on the community forum asking for support for these libraries. So that's interesting. And one more thing was actually interesting is the fact that we didn't go ahead with maybe a big bang to support everything WebSocket, have it in collection, and all of that. But we're trying to deliver incrementally, which is good because then we get feedback from the community. And speaking of feedback, what I'm going to also do is just share the thread on the community forum where we are collecting all of the feedback for WebSockets. While I do that, um, Anudeep, do you want to talk about from a design perspective how how different was this from the other things that we're doing, or what were the roadblocks or like the tricky bits? How was
Right.
it from a design perspective?
I mean, initially when we decided that we'll support WebSockets, we were all like, "What the hell is a WebSocket?" Right? And Udit and like the engineering team has a lot of context. Like they know end to end what the protocol is. Mm, for for us, we researched, we understood, we read the RFC to understand what the protocol is in the first place. Also, talking to Udit and the rest of the team to pick their brains to understand the protocol in the first place. Mm, so usually design team sort of works by analogies. So we were trying to simplify all this thing for ourselves and the rest of the design team that um,
Tell
WebSocket
us,
is
yes,
like,
tell us all the
yes.
analogies. There's a couple of people on the chat asking more about WebSockets and about why it's used. So all the analogies will be extremely useful to the people on the stream.
Yeah, at least for the design team, like rest of the team, this is what we told. Assume WebSocket is like making a phone call versus HTTP is like talking on a walkie-talkie, right? So that's sort of the fundamental difference between WebSocket and the HTTP protocol. So yeah, initially it's to understand the protocol and then simplify it in our own minds so that we'll be able to design the GUI better. But in a lot of ways, this is sort of, I think Udit mentioned this a bit. This is like the initial days of Postman, because this is nothing like the HTTP protocol. We had to think from ground up, like start fresh on how this UI would look like, understand the protocol and translate that protocol to a usable and a friendly GUI. Initially, we kind of shielded ourselves to not worry about many things because, as again Udit mentioned, this sort of fundamentally challenges most of the design abstractions within Postman on how a collection is structured, how it is designed, how it is architected. But initially, we shielded ourselves, saying, "Okay, WebSockets won't be in a collection for now." That was sort of a win-win situation. We'll be able to ship that feature faster without worrying about all the other things. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think.
this at least how we approach.
Yeah, and like there's a couple of requests about being able to save them on a collection. So that's
Yeah.
yeah, that's like most a lot of the feedback that's coming up on a
Yeah.
couple of threads. Tech stack wise, I'm jumping on to the tech stack actually because I see this question by Shiva Krishna Chepiala. Hi Shiva, he's regularly present at the live stream, so thank you for joining again, Shiva. He asks what database you are using to store the WebSockets call and retrieve this data. So Udit, you
Yeah,
want to take that one and also just talk about tech stack wise, what what were the different things that we had to do to support WebSockets, any libraries, tools, any experience of like how we built it. So
yeah, sure. So you just mentioned that we are not able to save the WebSocket request in a collection, but Postman is a collaborative platform, and there is something else also to actually collaborate. It's called the history feature. So every WebSocket request a connection you make, right, is all stored, and you can just collaborate if you are in the same team also, right? So you can just reuse for now until we add support for collections. But in terms of database, we use MongoDB. If you want to just know the name, but yeah, and in general, tech stack wise, everyone knows Postman is an Electron app, which gives you this Node.js runtime, and npm has a very popular library called ws, which allows you to connect with a WebSocket server. So we just have a wrapper on top of it, just for our use case. So we have did a lot of things just to detect messages and all the other things which I just demoed. But internally, it's just a wrapper on top of ws. Yeah.
so there's a lot of libraries, Shiva, right there. Okay. I am just going over the chat, but Udit and Anudeep, feel free to talk about anything that you'd like to around what your experience was when you were building for that one, and maybe even like I know I've been part of a couple of these UX research calls where you're like getting feedback from postmanauts and otherwise just about how we um, how we look at a feature, how we respond, and all of that. So, have you had any interesting insights regarding WebSockets for that, Anudeep? And like, how was that part?
Yeah, at least for designers, one advantage with any of the features that we build is we are our own users. So for some quick research, we just tap into our own engineers and the team. So yeah, initially after understanding the protocol, we know that just exposing the protocol as a GUI won't be enough, because the concept is you should be able to test your WebSocket requests. So we asked a bunch of our own people within Postman on how they sort of use WebSocket requests in their day-to-day workflows, and what if they are debugging, what would they be looking for, what's the information, things like that. That all this information kind of helped us make some decisions on a UI level as well. For example, we know that usually when you are working with WebSocket requests, it's the data as well as the time that is important. So on a UI level, that is what you see fundamentally. All the other things are additional information which you can see it anyway. One interesting workflow that we've noticed is, usually with WebSocket, it's not for HTTP you have the response time, but there's no such thing as response time for WebSockets. It's the difference between the message you have sent, the time difference between the message you have sent and when the server has responded with another message. We sort of realize that this is the most critical information whenever you're debugging. So one small addition on the UI level that we have made is select any two requests to quickly see the time difference. That is sort of an response time analogy if you want to compare it to HTTP. Yeah, this was one thing, and you can see this on the UI level, like quickly being able to search or filter your messages. And we know that with WebSockets, it's always a continuous streaming of messages. So after a point, your entire messages area could be loaded with messages. So there's a quick clear messages function which clears out all your previous messages for your. So yeah, at least right now with the features that we had, these were the top workflows that we have noticed after talking to our people internally, and this is what got translated into the UI.
Yeah, I haven't used WebSockets as much, but it sure I've used it just for testing the feature. But yeah, it still think it's very convenient. Like before that, personally, I would try to do it on the browser, and it's just difficult to see the rate at which like the response and the request and like the stream gets filled up. So just managing that gets difficult. So actually, the filter bit seems really useful to me to filter it,
Yeah,
like all of the messages.
and we know that this is not enough. We want to do more. It's just that like we have to stop at some point for the first cut to quickly validate. So we are working on many things on that front.
And what do we think? So this is like a new beginning, and it's beginnings are new. I don't know what. Okay, but we have always had support for like sync stuff, and then there's this bi-directional communication. So it's a segue like into the async world. So what do we think? Like with the fact that we have released WebSockets and like we're now exploring other protocols, does it open more doors to other stuff? And like Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother, is it? Barney Stinson on the chat asks, what are your thoughts on quick HTTP 3, which is along the lines of like, have we opened doors to more protocols and the async world?
Well, I mean, I have not read the RFC on HTTP 3, so I'll get some more clarity once I read that. But we knew that WebSocket will be sort of the fundamental thing that we are building onto the async world. So we had to keep all those abstractions in place too. This is the UI that you're seeing is not just for WebSockets. um, we try to come up with the entire architecture either on the UI level or on the engineering side of things as well, which will still hold true for many of the async either different protocols or sub protocols.
Yep, I think. Hi, Carol. Carol says having the APIs and socket connections in one place to test is great. So does sound like we're on a good track. Udit, you want to add what we can look forward to, or what you think the start of WebSockets does in terms of like other protocols, and how do
Yeah.
things look from here?
Yeah, so you mentioned synchronous communication, right? So, and that is something which is not something which just we provided support for, but also reflected in our architecture and tech stack as well, right? With WebSockets, we are just validating a lot of things to introduce asynchronous protocols, and WebSocket is the fits well with the criteria which we was looking for. So you can expect support for a lot of similar protocols in future, like MQTT, gRPC, right? So yeah, so as you said, right, it's a beginning, and we are like really validating a lot of things, coming up with new UI constructs, and the same will be used, and you can even see with WebSockets, right? A WebSocket tab and an HTTP tab still looks pretty similar. So it's not like we are changing everything and like make you learn from the beginning, but yeah, you are well familiar with all the send and connect button, which you are familiar with the HTTP.
Omkar has a question about what made us choose WS over socket.io. I'm going to direct this one to Udit.
I mean, it was like what made you choose WS over Socket.io, but well, we are adding support for Socket.io as well. It will be out very soon. So yeah, Socket.io internally use WebSockets as its transport, so it's not very different. So if you use the WebSocket interface, right, there will be only a few additions to accommodate the features provided by Socket.io. So yeah, it will be pretty similar.
So I have some quick feedback actually. Anudeep, you were talking about the response time and the way that checking in between the messages and how it helped. I think it would be useful if we actually shared screen and spoke about it as well, so for the viewers to understand what what exactly helped, and also for you to go over the UX and the UI for us, because you were a major contributor there. So
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't have my
we can
WebSocket URL.
it's okay. We can share with it screen and then you can like guide us through it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll turn on Udit's screen and I'll just minimize the chat for a moment, but we'll get to the questions in a bit.
So yeah, here in the messages area, like just select any two messages. The checkbox to the left. Yeah. So here, if with WebSockets again, that's sort of an, can't say it's an issue, but WebSocket doesn't inherently know what's a reply to what. So but we know that many users want to know the time difference to calculate the response time. This is what we did, at least for the first cut. Just select any two messages to be able to quickly get the time difference.
Yeah, so what you can see is I posted a message called video, and it took 8 milliseconds for my local server to respond, right? So that's the pretty much the idea to help you debug your server timings.
Okay, and yeah, the part about the fact that it's difficult to understand what's a response to what, because there are like a lot of messages and it's like streaming continuously. So these two messages that you select to see the time difference is like the one that you think you're, let's say if this is a chat, like I just want to talk in analogies so that
Right.
it's easier for the viewers to understand. So let's say this is a chat and I say hi Udit, so we're checking the time difference it says to say hi back. Is that
Uh, Not exactly. So it just helps you get the time diff between any two messages, but you can use it for various purposes as the one you have mentioned as well. So yeah. Uh,
So at least on a protocol level, again, there's what after picking some brains from Udit, uh, WebSocket like inherently doesn't expose that so and so message is a reply to so and so message. There's no support for that. That's why I mean this is just one reason, but there are other sub protocols that are built on top of WebSocket protocol, which give out this which gives out this support. So as and when we build support for other sub protocols, maybe you even on the UI level that gets reflected. Maybe you can see things like, just speculating for now, maybe you can see things like just threads within your message stream, right? Because these sub protocols have that functionality by default. With WebSockets, that functionality itself is not there.
okay? So this I could expect in the future that this the messages, the stream of messages might look like a
Yeah, Slack
chat.
chat. Yeah,
Yeah, Slack chat.
could
That's what
be.
I was thinking. When you said threads, that's what I was thinking. Okay, well, since we are screen sharing, is there any other element that you see, Anudeep, that you want to emphasize
Mm,
on more?
yeah, I think we can check the clear messages thing too. Once your stream area gets too big, you can just clear messages for you to just concentrate on the new messages. Also, on an abstraction level, again, this is where sort of thinking in terms of abstractions and laying some fundamental UI constructs come into picture. Like we are not deleting messages because like uh, that is not really what's happening. Um, what's happening, at least this is what we have thought about while designing. You're not really deleting messages, you're just grouping them and like putting them under one particular thing for you to expand in the future if you want. Hmm, I don't know, right now we have not yet put much thought into this yet, but we maybe you'll be able to group certain things in the future. I don't know. So it's just that these sort of things are laying some fundamental abstractions for us to work with in the future.
Nice. So this is a usage question. What happens when I clear them? I won't be able to search through them, right? Just I'm testing it now on the live stream.
Yeah, you won't be. So
Yeah.
it's just you don't want those messages to be part of anything, like maybe visual debugging or search, right? So you can just hide those. But if you see a need of it, you can just restore and start searching it again. But if you clear it right, they are gone.
Nice. And what happens to I think Udit, you also talking about the history aspect of it. So like for the REST request that we do, everything that we do becomes a part of the history. So is there background noise from my side?
Yeah.
There's some subtle noise, probably your
Okay.
mic.
Or probably my AC, which is going to go off now. Yeah, but from the history aspect of it for WebSockets, how does that affect the history, or
Yeah.
how do we take care of that bit?
Yeah, so you can open the history and you will see the previous sessions which you are connected to, right? And you can see this was one a session which was created on. You can see the time and all the things which we have sent, like we have received a video and all of it. And if you like to connect back to the same API, you can just reconnect and start using the same. So it's like a reusability or collaboration feature which we have supported just to accommodate that we are not allowing users to save WebSocket requests.
Okay, awesome. Do we want to investigate more through the UI? Should we go back to the chat questions? I think there are a couple of questions that are there in the chat as well. Okay, there is one question that I'm going to put here. So WebRTC uses socket.io, but there is a leak there. How can we overcome any view? I'm absolutely clueless about this, so I'm going to direct it to Udit again.
Yeah, so this is something which I'm not aware of, so I will not be able to answer it as well. So yeah.
Nice. One question done, no problem. Okay. Are there any questions that you see that we would have liked to answer? I think, Udit, if you can help, Shiva Krishna Chepiala asks for sharing the libraries that we use to build this particular feature.
So on GitHub, if you search Postman Labs, the organization, right? So most of, actually all of our open source stuff is there. So for WebSockets, there is a repository called Postman-WS. It's the same place where you find Newman and Postman collections and all the other libraries. So if someone can just post the link of GitHub org, that could be useful.
Yep, I'm just going to do that on the chat right now.
Also, one thing when we talk about filtering, because while designing, we sort of assume that lot of your workflows, once you have successfully connected to a WebSocket, it's largely about finding the right message or filtering to the right message. With WebSocket, it's a simple search box for now. Oh no, you can also filter by either incoming or outgoing messages. With socket.io IO feature, you will see a small peek into what we are thinking about when it comes to being able to identify your messages better, and being able to filter your messages better. And this sort of also lays some foundation on how probably you might be testing your WebSocket requests. So we didn't go as far as testing yet in our minds, but we are laying those fundamental bricks right now.
Yeah, that's nice. We actually do have time, Udit. So if you want to share anything that we're trying in like the Canary version, we could do that, or not, whatever you want.
Yeah, so if you want, we can actually see the socket IO support. It will be out in Canary very, very soon. Actually, today itself. And yeah, so what you see is, let me just zoom in. So it's the same WebSocket request, but now you have an option to switch to socket IO. So I have this chat app. So once you connect, right, so socket.io has a lot of different versions, so we support all three versions, so you can just switch and connect with it. Now this is the same web app which I'm connected to, so let me just log in here. So now I know, so there are a lot of events which it accepts. So there is an add user where I will just say my name, and you will see in the UI it will say, oh, this is join the chat, right? And there are a bunch of other events like typing or message, right? So every time someone types, you will see a typing event from a username called test, or if someone says sends a message, you will see someone sent a message called hello. But now if it was raw WebSocket, you will be bombarded with all these messages. But what socket.io allows you to do is, I don't want to listen on any typing messages, right? So I just stop it. Now even if someone types here, I don't get it in Postman, right? But I can still say send a message and you will see it here, right?
So like listening to specific topics is something that we will be able to do with socket.io, which we like the raw WebSocket might not support. That's
Yeah, it just makes your lives a bit easier by giving an event name to every single message, so that you can just differentiate between all the different types of messages which you are sending up on the same stream. Yeah. So that's about socket.io. We have a very detailed blog post in the Learning Center doc coming out soon. So yeah, and learn more about it.
yes. Wait for it. There's a oh yeah. I'm thinking of How I Met Your Mother. Wait for it, because I saw Barney Stinson on the chat, so that's why.
So also
Yes.
here you will see that this is much like your WebSocket UI. So like pretty much everything that we have designed and built for WebSocket UI still stays true for Socket.io as well. So we designed in such a way that for many of the other sub protocols also, like we don't have to change much. Like fundamentally, Socket.io has this listeners concept which is sort of obvious within the UI. So apart from that, many of the building blocks are still true. This is what I was talking about with respect to being able to identify different messages easily, at least on the first go. One thing is for each event, it has a different color, because like if you are just quickly glancing through the message stream, you can identify very quickly, at least on a visual level, on what's the event type for any of the message stream. So yeah, this is sort of this lays down building blocks to do further more things with respect to filtering in the future.
Awesome. Joyce says, what does Joyce say on the stream? Oh yeah, Joyce says early release, which is what you get when you are part of the live streams. We sometimes go ahead and like reveal certain surprising things. So thank you, Udit and Anudeep, for revealing it a little bit ahead of time or almost in time. There are a couple of questions in the chat, so I'm going to go over to them and stop sharing screen. Okay, there's one by Barney Stinson again. Hi, Barney. Have you met Ted? Can we create WebSocket mock servers in Postman, or are there any plans for it?
Yeah, there's definitely a plan for it. As we mentioned, we are iteratively adding all the features which Postman API platform supports for HTTP. So we'll start by just allowing you to save it in a collection and document it, and then obviously monitoring, mocking, and all those features will be there.
Great. Shiva asks, Udit, Anudeep, are you going to take us through the design implementation of WebSocket?
Well, I don't think I can share our Figma mocks for this because it will be a lot of chaotic. But yeah, one of the things I think I've missed is when we were designing the message stream as well. Again, as I said, we not just the design team, even Shamashish works a lot on analogies.
You want to mention who Shamashish is? Our viewers might not know.
Well, I mean, he's the boss.
That's a good explanation. Shamashish is the boss.
Yeah, he's our, well, Acharya, he's our professor. So yeah, even so I think we have touched upon a bit on how we have went through before designing the mocks. But one of the analogies for message stream, right now is just a steady stream of messages where you can only focus on either one message at a time, or it otherwise it's just a stream of messages, right? There will be different workflows where you don't want to just see one thing at a time. You would want to see multiple things at a time. Maybe compare one message to another message, right? Right now these things are not possible. We took this conscious decision for now, um, because we want to release it wide in the open, and we want to validate that, test out and understand different workflows people are going through with respect to WebSockets. But yeah, we have all these things on the back of our minds. We just want to wait for some more validation, and then go ahead with our improvements and designs.
I think incremental is what we're going with for faster and more feedback. Okay. Jettison, who I know is Joyce, I know it's Joyce. She's my boss. So can you proxy WebSocket stream into Postman like this live streams chat?
Yeah, I think that's something which we talked about before when we were talking about what WebSockets is used for. So yeah, you can definitely stream or like the chat section which we have right next to a video can also be part of Postman's mess response stream. So yeah.
Wow, I think it would be useful. So, like, one of us from the DevRel team will be hosting the stream. Another one is going to proxy the WebSocket, the chat, live stream chat stream into Postman, and then we're going to search through what people are talking about. So, does sound like an
Also,
interesting thing
on
to
that
do.
front, I mean, not just proxy, but whatever you expect from whatever you do right now with respect to HTTP and collections, ideally you should be able to do all that. Like that is sort of our goal too. It's just that, as I said, WebSockets or async protocols fundamentally challenged all our thought process and ideas that we had about collections or anything that is built on top of collections, like mock servers, monitors, testing, all these things. It's a challenge. That's a bigger challenge, in my opinion, compared to building or designing for WebSockets. We are figuring it out. We'll see how it translates.
So the bigger challenge is to provide supports for WebSockets is one thing, but for them to be able to do everything that you could do in the Postman ecosystem, that's a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And a fun challenge for us. So think we're almost like close to the end time, but to conclude, right, for what lies ahead, there, like we spoke about being able to persist requests in a collection, or what lies ahead for async. So Udit and Anudeep, do you want to sort of conclude the roadmap or what lies ahead for WebSockets and async?
Yeah. So we have when we released, we have seen that users are not directly using raw WebSockets. They are also actually using Socket.io. So that's what we picked up, and we are going to release as we have also already demoed, right? And now the number one request is to ability to persist the WebSocket request in a collection. So that is something which we are working on, and collection means all the things which comes with it, like documentation. So yeah, you can look out for both of these features. And I think we have a feedback link as well in our community. So as you have already seen, we are taking a lot of feedback and like we are building incrementally, but you can just give more weight to what you want to see next in WebSocket or any other protocol.
Yeah, so I've shared the link to the topic on the community forum where we're trying to consolidate and collect all the feedback from the users, which will help us understand what users need and maybe prioritize or have it in the roadmap and build incrementally and towards that. So if you haven't tried the WebSockets feature out as yet, or even if you have, play with it more and play with it again, so that we can build it better for you and include all of your feedback and convert them into features that you can look forward to.
Also, one thing I want to leave us with is, I mean, one parallel roadmap is support for more subprotocols and also other async protocols. That's one thing. The other thing is, for all these protocols, we want to be able to solve majority of your workflows. It's again the same cycle which Postman went through with HTTP. It started off with just being able to debugging. Then it was about automated testing. Then it was about documentation, mock servers, all these things, being able to publish your APIs. Most probably WebSockets and other protocols will also go through the same cycle. It's just that the workflows might be different. the way you test, the way you design might be different with respect to WebSockets or even other protocols. So that is where we need your help. For example, once we released WebSockets, and we were looking at the feedback, I was looking at, okay, what's wrong with WebSockets? That sort of feedback, but majority of the feedback was we want socket.io. I was like, okay, fine, we'll build socket.io, right? So feedback directly sort of affects what we build and how we build. So yeah, I would request all of you to not just in community, like either on GitHub, even on Twitter. Like we keep an eye on all the channels. Even if you want to rant about what's wrong with the UI or the feature, that's also fine. But yeah, let us know what other workflows are there that Postman cannot solve with respect to async protocols. Yeah, that would help us a lot.
It'll be lovely. There's so many protocols and things that we use across like multiple services and while building, and just being able to do it all in one place saves a lot of time and effort. So we're going to be listening to your feedback on a lot of and all of the channels that Anudeep mentioned. So just go ahead and share your feedback with us. Well, actually, I was going to stop with the questions, but do you want to take one last one from Omkar? Last
Um,
one, okay, last
yeah,
one.
I don't think we can do that right now.
Okay, the question is, I was wondering, can we select messages to mark it as a response to a message in here?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I see we don't support it right now, but I see it will be very useful for documentation purpose. And for the same reasons I was mentioning, that people end up using some library and not raw WebSocket. So Socket.io allows you this feature called acknowledgement. And when you send a message with the acknowledgement checkbox, right, it usually means is you can link two messages, the outgoing message and the incoming response, right? So I think Socket.io will fulfill this use case, but we talked about search filtering, and even this, right? This feature will help for documentation and just improving the raw, like debugging experience for raw also, because a lot of us don't really use the library for different reasons, right? So we don't want to like forget about the raw experience as well. So yeah.
Also, Omkar, it would be great if you can let us know either here or even later on community or on GitHub on why you want to do that in the first place, so that we can understand your use case better.
Great stuff. So we're concluding. And before I actually go ahead and thank you and we end the stream, just want to talk about what's next and what's coming up next week for Postman and any of the events that we're doing. So for any of the students attending this live stream, the Postman Student Summit is coming up, and yes, it's an API conference for students and educators, and that's happening on August 7th and August 8th of the next month, because this is still July, as far as I remember. That's coming up, so keep an eye on that. And we've also started doing focused webinars, so which are called like Postman Space Camp webinars. So this one I'm going to share my screen for, because I'm going to be doing the next webinar and we want people. Okay. Yes. So you can be notified of all the upcoming Postman Space Camp sessions, but from the ones that are upcoming August 3rd, if I didn't trouble you too much today, but if you're interested in API ops and how to use Postman, so we'll assume that you're familiar with DevOps and API ops in general, but this is more of an introduction to use Postman for API ops professionals. So hop from Write This Page. That's on August 3rd. And there's another one, which is Postman Design and Prototype and API that's happening on the 18th of August. So register for that. In addition, this one is available that happened a couple of weeks back on 6th July, which was production for developers. And for future, you can click the Notify Me button and be notified of it. So make sure you register to them. I think I have shared the link. I've shared the link to the Spacecamp page where you can find the events and register to them. Cool. So we're done. But before that, thank you so much, Udit, and thank you, Anudeep. I think both of you are lit, like people on the chat say. And
Thank you.
it's been great with the detail that you've answered all of the questions that everybody had and the insight that we've had into the feature. I'm not sure if this is your first stream or maybe your second stream, but before we drop off, do you want to share how the experience was for you, and do you think you want to come to a live stream again?
Yeah, it was the first live stream for me. And it was fun. Thanks for having us. Yeah, looking forward to share more revealing early release features for WebSockets and more protocols.
This was my second, but first of its kind of. But yeah, it was fun. We should do this more.
Yes, you should definitely do this more. I think people on the chat found it really cool, and the early releases is like extra bonus. So we'd love for you to join us again whenever there's like more stuff out.
Yeah, interesting problems ahead. So
Yes. Thank you so much. So all of us are going to be signing off, and really interactive people on the chat from everywhere. We love that you join. Keep joining, and we will see you. Bye-bye.
bye bye. Thank you.